This one it is called Race, Holocaust and Apartheid. I try to keep it simple. Actually, there is more than a race, Holocaust and Apartheid. It is about ethnicity. It is about the real meaning of independence, democracy. It is about hypocrisy and hype. It is about context. It is about raising important questions for our times, not only for one of the most powerful nations on the face of this planet, profoundly meaningful for the human race, the Americans, but for us, all the others, that we share a common future, I hope, and the same planetary village. I saw on the news, American news, a big stir up that a few words that I found nothing profoundly damaging there, nothing insulting, nothing untrue. Actually, it wasn't true up to a certain point. Holocaust was not about race. And boom, big stir up. Everybody jumped in to wade in about the subject and the controversy. I waited one day because a little bit I know about the subject. Because I talked about it before, not that much about race, but more about the Holocaust. As I said before many times, I grew up here in Romania, exactly in this room where I'm speaking. From the first grade, 7 years old, I slept in this bed that is behind the laptop. I have this book shelf here, and right there are 4, 5, or even 6 books about Nazi Germany and particularly about the concentration camps and the Holocaust, and they have pictures. When I grew up, there I have Jules Verne and the books for the kid. The second shelf up to the ceiling was full of Romanian literature and poetry, classical Romanian literature, also more books for kids. Here is Romanian literature, some historical, some dictionaries, and here is my mother part, which she was a history teacher, and her books about ancient civilization up there, about history of England, First World War, Second World War, and in the middle of the shelf with the Second World War, there were those kind of books. It was Pearl Harbor and Midway and other kind of books about Mata Hari or all kind of other books. The next shelves are with Romanian history that I read some of them, not all of them. And here we have books of Romanian poetry and modern history of Romania about the Romanian Revolution. And so the books I'm talking about, they're right there. They have pictures. When I was 14, 15, something like that, I took them out, I opened them, I read, and I learned very strange kind of names like Mauthausen, Auschwitz, Treblinka, that they're even today they are difficult for me. There are not easy kind of names to pronounce or to not to mention the symbol of them. And in the middle of the books there are very clear kind of picture, and that was the pictures that were the picture of horror. That was the first image of horror I have seen in my life. So I didn't read it because they were terrible. Later on, I grew up 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, I don't know, 17, 18, I read them. Or even earlier. I learned that it was a moment of resistance at Buchenwald, that it was passive resistance at Auschwitz and other parts of the world. Yet, knowing all of this, I didn't jump in the conversation right away because I'm not the type of guy that I want to put my head in the picture with every opportunity. I said actually this is an opportunity to learn more about the subject, and I took a day to think about it, to educate myself, to research a little bit the subject, and educate myself first and foremost. The situation there with Holocaust is not a race. To me, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and I understood the context. The context is important. The meaning is important. I grew up in Romania. All the people around me were white. And let's get this said right away. When I learned at school and from my mother and from those books, I knew right away that yes, Holocaust was about the race. It was a superior race. It was a perversion of Nietzsche, the Aryan race, and the Jews are the inferior race. And not only the Jews. We are going to talk about that today. Not only the Jews. There are other inferior races. But I also knew the amazingly beautiful moment and symbolically charged that will live forever and should live forever in our memory when a black athlete in 1936 at the Olympics made Hitler to get out of the stadium because he won again, he won again, and he was black. So the entire fucking theory of a superior race fall down like that, and Hitler was supposed to give him the medal, and he didn't want to do that. And that's how easy it was to contradict. I don't have a better English word. Is to crash, to demonta, to dismantle an entire artificially ideological construction, a criminal kind of ideology, obviously. I knew it was about race, but race here in Romania, as I talked about the meaning of the word boy in Romania, race in Romania, when we are all white, doesn't have the same kind of connotation for an artist, well-known artist, that is black in America. Okay, let's say it. Woopy Goldberg doesn't look like me. I don't look like Woopy Goldberg. My perception of race here is obviously different than her perception of race there, and is based on social interaction. I thought about that for one day, for actually I understood in the first 15 minutes what she meant. And I thought about all the things that I learned from TV, documentaries, but I didn't watch that many documentaries, mostly books and movies. Yes, we did have the Uncle Tom cabin, and I read it. There was later on I heard about a debate of whatever, but I have it. I remember exactly the place. I don't have it now. I gave many books to for charity and things like that. It was right there in that corner, in that shelf. I remember exactly the book. I read it. As I read Tom Sawyer, another kind of Huckleberry Fine and Finn, however you pronounce it, and other kind of American books. suitable for kids. Later on, I grew up and I learned about the Deep South and I saw the Mississippi is burning, and I learned about Alabama, places like Birmingham. The Mississippi Delta came to me not through history but through music. The blues come into my kitchen. The blues. And reading about the music and the blues and the gospel and the Negro spiritualists, I learned about the slaves. Later on, I learned about the slave trade that started, you check it out, in the 1600 or something like that. Anyway, it's not about history here. It's about human stories. It's about the meaning of our lives. And it's about education, most and foremost. I learned from a documentary of what you call the big crossing and things like that, the horrible crossing, I call it myself. The cotton fields. I saw a movie, The Cotton Club. I liked the movie. But behind that beautiful, jazzy, nicely dressed black people that know how to sing, like Charlie Parker, or, you know, it was the cotton field. And it was a big moment in my life when on Romanian TV in the time of Ceausescu they play Roots. The Kunta Kinte was the slave. And even that I was a kid or a teenager, young kid, I remember the moment when they were whipping him in order to change his name from Kunta Kinte to, I don't remember his English American name. And he was, what's your name? Kunta Kinte. What's your name? Kunta Kinte. What's your name? And in the end, they broke him down and he said, I don't know the name, what the name was. Doesn't matter. And they later on, out from my memory, I saw the great debaters with obviously Denzel. And I remember the debate at the end. In Deep South, they lynch people. In the English conversation in my school, we didn't learn this word. English being obviously my second language, lynching people. We don't know what lynch is. Even I don't understand the meaning. I know what does it mean, but I don't understand the verb. I don't want to understand. There is nothing to understand here. So, and you should be grateful that I, he said in the movie that he was talking about civil disobedience. Such a powerful and meaningful kind of movie. Very few people in Romania knows about it. It's not in the mall. In the mall we have horror kind of American movies that my nephew I thought they went with the entire class to see. They haven't seen The Great Debaters. It's a very good movie, appropriate for high school kids in Romania to learn about history, about our common humanity, and that's a movie that taught me the meaning of debates. And some young student at a Starbucks in Calgary. At that moment, we debated about gay marriage over a coffee. Literally, that's a true story. And then I learned about lynching people and the strange fruits, the unforgettable kind of song, which obviously, if you do not know the context and the meaning, you don't understand what the song is all about. All you have in mind and you relate with the song with an empathy and you feel the sadness on an emotional level, not on an intellectual level or historical level, but obviously the immense kind of sadness and the unique voice is there. And then the famous movie A Little Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest that even my mother enjoyed and consider it a cult kind of movie. I mean, a classic, not a cult, classic kind of movie. And, oh my God, with Jack Nicholson. Yeah, I saw it, and I even saw the play, theater, live theater play, my first live theater play I have been in my life. No, it was the second. The first one was John Steinbeck, Man and Mice, on the National Theatre of Romania. I not really appropriate for the age I was. I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12, something like that. But I enjoyed going to live theater. And the second one was a live theater play, A Little Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, with the same kind of actor in the same place. I completely enjoyed, understood what is all about, being put in a mental hospital when probably you do not deserve to be in a mental hospital. Funny thing, I've been threatened today, exactly with the same kind of thing. Yet, and it's no secret that during Ceausescu time in the dictatorship, they used to put people that they do not agree or appreciate their speeches in mental hospital. Psychiatry was used as a weapon during Ceausescu time in the dictatorship. It is strange and unacceptable that today in 2022, member of NATO and the European Union, I have been threatened with the same kind of treatment. Anyway, I would say that instead of a little flew over a cuckoo's nest, maybe a little flew over the Cuckoo's Clan would have been more appropriate in the early days, because probably if that kind of flew and bird eye view and understanding the situation and the phenomenon earlier and dealing with it earlier, you'd have definitely lesser problem in the society today. And for sure it was the unforgettable American History X with the horrible scene of a black guy biting the side of the concrete side. And however, they were the Freedom Riders there, and then the movie, The Freedom Writers. Beautiful movie I have seen. Very few people in Romania have seen. Very appropriate for high school students, but we don't take from American culture, which is meaningful, educational, and important, unfortunately. And yes, there in America, it was from the moment when I Have a Dream speech was delivered by Dr. Luther King to the moment when a black person was taken out of a car, put down on the concrete, and Mr. George Floyd was shouting, I can't breathe. And that was 2021. And then on the CNN there is a documentary about being stopped in traffic, being black in America and being stopped in traffic. So how dangerous is a traffic stop in America? And I would say in the same time that you have to step up the efforts to stop the human trafficking in America and around the world, because a few, just a few very good people with limited power and resources with good organization, but they feel the screen on CNN, it's not enough. It is obviously not enough. It's a drop in a huge ocean, but it's good PR. It's good PR for a country that is going sideways. I'd say that from stop and freeze situation, you as a nation, you should stop and think, think. What are you talking about? What are we talking about today in 2022? What is the conversation in America, in Romania, in Europe, in the East and in the West in 2022? After all that history, after all that blood and tears and marches and speeches and sacrifices and beatings, after the bloody Sunday there, after the speech of I Have a Dream in Washington, after the debates, presidential debates, talks on TV, debates between scholars and PhD and ordinary people over a coffee or a beer, after all that talk, talk and more talk, today in 22 we we talk about Holocaust and race. Holocaust was not about race, it was about the inhumanity of humans against other humans. And that's a hysteria, a hype, an insult for some. Why it's an insult for some? Because Holocaust was about the race. Yes, I know that. I'm white. I have the books right here. I have Nietzsche right there with Zarathustra, whatever. And I have my mom, which is a history teacher. I know it was the final solution and the Kristallnacht and the destruction of 7,000 businesses owned by Jews out of 9,000, the systematic persecution of what we call one race, the Jews. I call a race. The Jews are a race. I'm not racist, but for me, it is white on white. I am. We talk about that, what I am. It's interesting what I am from a race point of view. What I do know is I think, therefore I am. That's why I say you should stop and think. So, as the teacher, my mother, said, when you don't know something, you have to specify the terms of a discussion to know that the words do mean the same thing for both of you. They have the same meaning. If you read the basic of philosophy, let's do that. I have a good book. I like to show good books. This is one of the basic and wonderful kind of introduction a philosophy course by Dennis Weissman and Andre Verges. Wonderful, meaningful, but I have other books. I bought more complicated books, but if you read the basic book of philosophy, you realize that first and foremost, in a philosophical construction of one philosopher, the term is not the same like in the other philosophical construction of another philosopher, even though they talk about the same kind of important, what is important categories they call it, or let's call it important thing. What is philosophy? Conscience and inconscience, passion, space, time, history, language, logic and mathematics, the idea of the truth, justice, the state, art, liberty, the problem of God. If you talk about the problem of God, well, we talk about God, but my God might be different than his God, and it's the same word, three-letter word, God, God, right? Race, four-letter word. The way I use race in Romania, the way I use boy in Romania is absolutely not the same. Like some fucked up individuals might use it in America in a disrespectful way or to steer a debate. And race. I looked. Race is a category of humankind that shows distinctive physical traits. Physical. I would say like the color of her skin, right? And the way she had the hair. The explanation later on, which I saw, but I didn't need a person. I didn't need any explanation. I understood right away. But I think it's profoundly meaningful and absolutely illustrative. If the clan comes down the street and Leo the Tyler is sitting there, do you know I'm a Jew? If I don't have the sign, you don't. I'm not a Jew. I'm Christian Orthodox, but doesn't matter. Really, doesn't matter. I'm white. I'm short and white. There is much more possibility as the guys should attack the woman with the dark skin and you know it is pretty obviously that's the meaning of race. Race was used there in the meaning of everything was my introduction, in the meaning of the horrible crossing, the cotton fields, the Ku Klux Klan, the strange fruits, the Jim Crow, the Deep South, the Green Book situation only for whites, colored only, the segregation, and the profound injustice in the American society. That was race, obviously. She felt it, she lived it, she wasn't see it on TV like me. That was her perception of race. Race was basically against black people. And not only. Holocaust was not only about extermination of Jews. There are other inferior races. I knew from the books of the historian that they developed a superior race theory there, the Nazi. And they talk about not DNA, but the blood, the pure blood, and the blonde and the blue eyes. And I have a very, very meaningful article I would like to read. It is from National Geographic. 4 or 5 minutes read and explain it all and educate all of us, including me. Because, when I write on a piece of paper, when I go to an office for a passport or something like that, for a visa, my race is Caucasian. It's not white. I'm Caucasian. And when I first wrote this down, I was confused. I'm still confused. Caucasian for me is from the Caucasus mountain. That's Caucasian for me. I consider myself white. Yes, I am white because I have this. Actually, this is white to me. Yeah, okay. I have white skin. Yeah, and there are black people, and there are brown people, and he's, you know. But I'm Caucasian, so I'm confused. That's why I researched it yesterday, and I found Culture Explainer, National Geographical article, 5 minutes read, race and ethnicity. Oh, race, ethnicity. How are they different? It's exactly the title of the article. The four letters of the genetic code, A, C, G, and T, are projected into this picture that you have there, a person from Uganda. The DNA reveals what skin color obscures. Race is a construct. A very beautiful photograph. This is an article published in 2019, so relatively recent. Race and ethnicity are two concepts related to human ancestry. Race is defined as a category of humankind that shares certain distinctive physical traits. The term ethnicities is more broadly defined as large group of people classed according to common racial, nation, tribal, religious, linguistic, or cultural origin or background. Race is usually associated with biology and linked with physical characteristics such as skin color or hair texture. Funny thing, Woopy Goldberg has this kind of characteristic, skin color and hair texture. Ethnicity is linked with cultural expression and identification. Cultural expression. Is it too complicated? For some person, might be too complicated. Cultural expression. Stay with us. However, both are social constructs used to categorize the characteristic and characterize seemingly distinct populations. Genetic and race. Neither race nor ethnicity is detectable in the human genome. This is important. Neither race or ethnicity it is not detectable in the human genome. Humans do have genetic variations, some of which were once associated with ancestry from different parts of the world. But those variations cannot be traced to distinct biological characteristics. Genetic tests cannot be used to verify or determine race or ethnicity, so the tests themselves are associated with an increased belief in racial differences. Through thought, race has no genetic basis, the social concept. So, race is a social concept of race still shapes human experiences. Racial bias fuels social exclusion, discrimination, and violence against people from certain social groups. In turn, racial prejudice confers social privileges to some and social and physical disparities to others, and is widely expressed in hierarchies that privilege people with white skin over people with darker skin colors. Categorizing race. Race and ethnicity are often regarded as the same, but social and biological science consider the concepts distinct. In general, people can adopt or deny ethnic affiliation more readily than racial ones. Two different ethnicities have been folded into racial categories during different periods of history. A legal scholar, Tanya Hernandez writes, the social experience of being considerately viewed as distinct is what informs a racial identity, not a shared culture. Being distinct. People who share an ethnicity may speak the same language, came from the same country, or share a religion or other cultural belief or expressions. But here we come. The politics of race. The United States government recognizes distinction between the concept of race and ethnicity and sorts individuals as white, as I told you. I wrote there Caucasian, white, black or African American, Asian American Indians and Alaskan Native, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders, or other. It also recognized two ethnicities, Hispanic or Latino or not Hispanic or Latino. These demographic data, in turn, affects public policy and civil rights law. Human shares. This is very important. Please take a pen and write this down because it's very important. Human shares over 99% of their genetic material with one another. So, myself and Woopy Goldberg, even with an African person or with a Chinese person, I share 99% of our genetic materials. And variation occur more between individuals than ethnic groups. Nevertheless, the legacies of racial and ethnic constructs can be spotted in everything from housing to health. Racial and ethnic prejudices affect the distribution of wealth, power, and opportunity, and create enduring social stratifications. Racial pride can form racial prejudice, as in the case of white supremacists. But for members of groups marginalized because of race or ethnicity, involvement in activities that promote group pride can help lessen or offset the effects of racial discrimination or social prejudice. Through race and ethnicity are among the most divisive concepts in history, but irrevocably shape our social, personal, and cultural experiences. I think this article, maybe it was more than 5 minutes, basically covers the subject. I looked also what is a Jew. I don't want to look in a definition of a Jew because I know the definition of a Jew, very simple. For me, it's another human being without the yellow star or other kind of external identification. Terrible situation in history. It's another human being. That's the definition of a Jew for me. Can be my brother, my friend, it's another human being. Yet, Judaism, it's a different thing. I checked major religions of the world. The world's primary religions fall into two categories. Abrahamic religions, such as Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and Indian religions, which include Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and others. Of the world's major religion, Christianity is the largest with more than 2 billion followers. And here there are 12 major religions of the world in order. The religion in this book, there is a book about it, include Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Taoism, Judaism, Confucianism, Baha'i, Shinto, Jainism, and Zoroastrianism. So Judaism is a religion, it's not a race. Basically, she was right. Yet, in the social and ideological criminal kind of construct of the Nazi, it was about a superior race and an inferior race, more than one. They hate not only Jews, they hate other people that they consider them inferior. Oh. 99%, this is what we need to keep in our mind. 99% of humans share the same DNA. And the Holocaust, terrible subject. Why we are talking and reading about the Holocaust, really, I don't know. I read about the Holocaust. I talked about the Holocaust. I read books and I saw documentaries about the Holocaust. What is, for me, the subject is clear. It's one of the worst, horrifying situation in the human history, in our humanity, in our human history. The Holocaust, I'm reading from Wikipedia, is known as the Sloach, was a genocide of European Jews during World War II. Second, between 1941 and 1945, Nazi Germany and its collaborators systematically murdered some 6 million Jews across German-occupied Europe, around two-thirds of Europe's Jewish population. The murders were carried out in pogroms and mass shooting by a policy of extermination through labor in concentration camps and in gas chambers and in gas vans in German extermination camps, chiefly Auschwitz, Birkenau, Belzec, Kelmo, Majdanek, Sobibor and Treblinka in occupied Poland. Germany implemented the persecution in stages, following Adolf Hitler's appointment as Chancellor in the 19 January 1933. The regime built a network of concentration camps in Germany for political opponents of those deemed indesirable, starting with Dachau in 1933. After the passing of the Enabling Act, which gave Hitler dictatorial plenary powers, the government began isolating Jews from civil society. This included boycotting Jewish business in April 1933 and enacting the Nuremberg Law in September 1935. In 1938, 8 months after Germany Anschluss, it is called, Germany annexed Austria, Jewish businesses and other buildings were ransacked or set on fire throughout Germany and Austria on what became known as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. After Germany invaded Poland in 1939, triggered World War II, the regime set up ghettos to segregate Jews. Eventually, thousands of camps and other detention sites were established across German-occupied Europe. The segregation of Jews in ghetto culminated in the policy of extermination the Nazi called the final solution to the Jewish question, discussed by senior government officials at the Wannsee Conference in Berlin in January 1942, or I don't know how to pronounce that. Wannsee, probably. It is in Berlin, January 1942. The German forces captured territories in the east. All anti-Jewish measures were radicalized. Under the coordination of the SS, with direction from the highest leadership of the Nazi Party, killings were committed within Germany itself, throughout occupied Europe, and within territories controlled by Germany's allies. Paramilitary death squads called doesn't matter, in cooperation with the German army and local collaborators murdered around 1.3 million Jews in mass shooting and pogroms. From the summer of 1941, by the mid-1942 victims were being deported from ghettos across Europe in sealed freight trains to extermination camps where, if they survived the journey, they were gassed, worked or beaten to death or killed by diseases, medical experiments, and during death marches. The killing continued until the end of the World War II in Europe in May 1945. Holocaust. I looked into it. It is shocking that I learned from PBS today that 23% of Americans are not sure about the Holocaust or they believe it was exaggerated. I said it's not very complicated. I don't have proof at the end of I'm gonna talk, but about the Holocaust there is enough proof. There is undeniable enough proof. Undeniable, 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 undeniable. Unfortunately, it did happen, and the way it wasn't exaggerated. That it used for political purposes, that's another situation. To deny Holocaust, to attack the Jewish state or anti-Semitism, it is something that is real in our societies throughout Europe and America, and not only. That is also true. But I don't think that the Holocaust was exaggerated in any way, unfortunately. Holocaust means to burn completely. There are two words, holo and kaustos. There are Greek words, to burn completely. When you burn something completely, you exterminate it. That was the idea, that's why they call it Holocaust. I thought about that when I was a teenager. I never heard the word before. It's not a word that we use in Romanian. The first recorded use of the term Holocaust in the modern sense was in 1895 by the New York Times to describe the massacre of Armenian Christians by Ottoman forces. The term comes from the Greek. I cannot read the Greek. Holocaustos. Whole, entire, kaustos, burned offering. The biblical term Sloach, meaning destruction, became the standard Hebrew term for the murder of European Jews. According to Haaretz, the writer Yehuda Erez may have been the first to describe events in Germany as the Sloach. Lavar and later Haaretz both used the term in September 1939. Now we know. The 3rd October of 1941, the American Hebrew used the phrase before the Holocaust, apparently to refer to the situation in France, and in May 1943, New York Times discussing Bermuda Conference referred to the hundreds of thousands of European Jews still surviving the Nazi Holocaust. In 1968, the Library of Congress created a new category, Holocaust, Jewish, 1939-1945. The term was popularized in the United States by the NBC miniseries Holocaust in 1978, about a fictional family of German Jews, and in November that year the President Commission of the Holocaust was established. As non-Jewish groups began to include themselves as Holocaust victim non-Jewish groups, many Jews chose to use the Hebrew term Sloan, or I don't know how to pronounce, Shruban or Shruban. The Nazis used the phrase final solution, I knew that, to the Jewish question. Think we read enough. There was a genocidal state, medical experiments, the origins of anti-Semitism. Through the Middle Ages in Europe, Jews were subject to anti-Semitism based on Christian theology. We blame them for killing Jesus, and I don't want to read that. And then Germany of First World War, Hitler's worldview, rising of Nazi Germany, dictatorship and repression, January 33rd, sterilization law, the economic strains of Great Depression led Protestant charities and some members of the German medical establishment to advocate compulsory sterilization of the incurable mentally and physically disabled. People the Nazi called life unworthy for life. Who decided? And then it was prevention of hereditary diseases offspring. The sterilization law was passed. The New York Times reported 21st of December that year that 400,000 Germans to be sterilized. There were 84,000 applications for doctors in the first year. Estimates for the number of involuntary sterilization during the whole of the Third Reich range to 300,000 to 400,000. In October 39, Hitler signed an euthanasia decree. In 1st of September 1939. There was also dedicated killing centers where the deaths were estimated to 20,000. One of the euthanasia centers of 400,000 according to Frank Sayce, commander of the Mauthausen concentration camp. The Holocaust didn't exist or it was exaggerated. What is 400,000 people? The commander of Mauthausen concentration camp. Overall, the number of mentally and physically disabled people murdered was about 150,000. Although not ordered to take part, psychiatrists and many psychiatric institutions were involved in the planning and carrying out of Action T4, that's the sterilization and euthanasia. In August 41, after protests from Germany's Catholic and Protestant churches, Hitler cancelled the program. There were Nuremberg laws and Jewish emigration, Kristallnacht, invasion of Poland, invasion of Norway and Denmark, invasion of France, Madagascar plan. Apparently it was a plan in the summer of 1940 when French Madagascar in Southeast Africa became the focus of discussion about deporting all European Jews there. It was thought that the area's harsh living conditions would hasten death for them. Several Polish, French and British leaders have discussed the idea in the 30s. Adolf Eichmann's office was ordered to investigate the option, but no evidences of planning existed until after the defeat of France in June 40. Germany's inability to defeat Britain sometime was something that was obvious to the German in September 1940, prevented the movement of Jews across the seas. And the foreign ministry abandoned the plan in February 1942. I didn't know that. It's even more crazy as you read. Invasion of Yugoslavia and Greece, invasion of the Soviet Union, mass shooting towards the Holocaust concentration and labor camps, German allies, pogroms in Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia and Hungary, Italy, Finland and Japan, final solution Pearl Harbor, Germany declares war on the United States. The Conference of Wannsee, 20th of January 1942, extermination camps, Auschwitz, Belzec, Kelmo, Majdanek, Sobibor, Treblinka. Total of deaths, 3,218,000. Here, gas vents, gas chambers, resistance. There was almost no resistance in the ghettos of Poland until the end of 1942. Compliance might avoid inflaming the situation until the onslaught abated. Several resistance groups were formed yet, such as the Jewish Combat Organization and the Jewish Military Union in the Warsaw Ghetto and the United Partisan Organization in Vilna. Over 100 revolt uprising occurs in the least 90 ghettos and elsewhere in the Eastern Europe. The best known is the Warsaw Ghetto uprising in April 1943, when the Germans arrived to send the remaining inhabitants to extermination camps. Polish resistance and flow of information, end of the war, Holocaust in Hungary, death marches, liberation, death toll. And here is, with a simple click on Wikipedia, you can have a spreadsheet with Albania, Austria, Belgium, Bohemia, Bulgaria, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Soviet Union, and Yugoslavia. Total between 4,700,000, 7,056 and 7,442,000. Almost 7.5 million people. Men, women, and kids. It was exaggerating, 23%. It is exaggerating? I don't think so. Here is important, I really want to read that. Other victims of Nazi persecutions, Soviet civilians and POWs. The Nazi regarded the Slavic people, as inferior race. German troops destroyed villages throughout the Soviet Union, rounded up civilians for forced labor in Germany, and caused famine by taking foodstuff. In Belarus, Germany imposed a regime that deported 380,000 people for slave labor, murdered 1.6 million, and destroyed at least 5,295 settlements. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum estimates that 3.3 million of 5.7 million Soviets POW prisoners of war died in German custody. The death rates decreased when the POW were needed to help the German war effort. By 43, half a million had been deployed as slave labor. And not only the Slavic people were an inferior race. Yes, Holocaust was about the race, was about the Jews, was about the Slavic people, was about the ethnic Poles. From the start of the war against Poland, Germany intended to realize Adolf Hitler's plan set out in his book, Mein Kampf, to acquire living space. My mother used living space, yeah, for the East for massive settlement of German colonists. Hitler's plan combined classic imperialism with Nazi racial ideology. While the long-term goal of Nazi Germany was removal of Jews from occupied Poland, Poles were the first victim of German physical terror during the first months of the occupation, and the SS hierarchy defined ethnic Poles as the principal enemy, with calls to destroy the Polish element in the western part of annexed Poland. It was their country. They are Poles, Polish people. They want to destroy the Polish element in the western part of annexed Poland. 7 September 1939. Heinrich stated that all Polish nobles, clergy and Jews were to be murdered. Just like that. That is obviously about race. On 12 of September, Wilhelm Keitel added Poland intelligentsia to the list. On 15 of March 1940, SS Chief Heinrich Himmler stated, all Polish specialists will be exploited in our military-industrial complex. Later, all Poles will disappear from this world. It is imperative that the great German nation consider the elimination of all Polish people as their main task. After the end of 1940, Hitler confirmed a plan to liquidate all leading elements in Poland. After Germany lost the war, the International Military Tribunal of the Nuremberg Trials and Poland's Supreme National Tribunal concluded that the aim of German policies in Poland was the extermination of Poles and Jews, was a genocide in biological terms. An estimated 1.8–1.9 million non-Jewish Polish citizens were killed by Germans during the war. At least 200,000 died in concentration camps, around 146,000 only in Auschwitz. Others died in massacre or in revolts, such as the Warsaw Uprising, where 1,500,000, 200,000 were killed. The numbers, the number of zeros, the numbers here are staggering. 23%. It was exaggerated. Only in the Warsaw Uprising, 200,000 people were killed. You don't need to exaggerate. And Roma people, which I call them gypsies, because Roma is the capital of Italy, Romanians are a type, is a country, Romania is a country, and it's confusion with, but they call themselves Roma, Romale, okay, Romani. Some people in Europe and around the world, they confuse Romani, the gypsies, with the Romanian people. It is what it is. Germany and its allies killed up to 220,000 Roma people, around 25% of the community in Europe. So they don't like the Jews, they don't like the Slavic people, they don't like the Polish people, they don't like the gypsies. Rudolf Ritter, head of Germany Racial Hygiene and Demographic Biology Research Unit. Only when you read the title of this racial hygiene, it's so profoundly wrong. And Demographic Biological Research Unit called them a peculiar form of the human species who are incapable of development and came about by mutation. Gypsies. I like gypsy people. Some of them that they behave nice in the society. In May 1942 they were placed under similar laws to the Jews, and in December Himmler ordered that they be sent to Auschwitz unless they have served in the Wehrmacht. He adjusted the order in November 43 to allow sedentary gypsies and part gypsies in the occupied Soviet areas to be viewed as citizens. In Belgium, France and Netherlands, the Roma were subject to restriction of movement and confinement to collection camps, while in Eastern Europe they were sent to concentration camps where large numbers were murdered. Political and religious opponents. German communist, socialist and trade unions were among the first to be sent to concentration camps. So, communist, socialist, trade unions, it wasn't all about race. It was December 1941, it was a directive issued by Hitler resulted in the disappearance, torture and death of political activists throughout German-occupied Europe. The courts had sentenced 1,793 people to death by April 1944 because they refused to pledge allegiance to the Nazi Party or serve in the military. Even Jehovah's Witnesses were sent to concentration camps, where they were given the option of renouncing their faith or submitting to the state authority. Between 2,700 or 3,300 were sent to the camps, where 1,400 died. Gay men. Around 100,000 gay men. So, undeniable there was also race and inhumanity of humans against other humans. Gay men. Around 100,000 gay men were arrested in Germany and 50,000 jailed between 33 and 45. 15,000, between 5,000 and 15,000 are thought to have been sent to concentration camps. Hundreds were castrated, sometimes voluntarily, to avoid criminal sentences. Himmler created the Reich Central Office for the combating of homosexuality and abortion. Wow. The police closed gay bars and shut down gay publications. Lesbians, of course, were left relatively, I thought, were left relatively unaffected. They use a easier term asocials rather than sexual deviants. Anyway, lesbianism could be used as an additional reason for persecution. And there are some examples. But the most interesting thing for me that I learned was Afro-Germans. There were 5,000 up to 25,000 Afro-Germans in Germany when the Nazi came to power. Also, blacks in Germany and German-occupied Europe were subject to incarceration, sterilization, and murder. There was no program to kill them as a group. And then it's about the trials at Nuremberg, some reparation. Remembrance. Israel's have a Holocaust Remembrance Day established in 1951. At least 37 countries and the United Nations have similar observances, including Romania. Now we know 23% of Americans now they have no excuse, they know about it. Read about the Holocaust. I just did. So let's read the original. It's not a statement, it's not a speech, it is a discussion over a table, over a view. Of course, it was a discussion that it was on TV, they have millions of viewers. That's the meaning of the TV, good TV, to be shown and viewed by millions of viewers. Holocaust was not about race, it was about the inhumanity of men to other men. When you talk about gay people, it was about their sexual orientation. So there it was, this is true, it was not about race. When you perceive race, like in Black America, in the cotton fields, in Deep South, it wasn't about race because a lot of people were white here. They don't have curly hair and black skin. And it was undeniable about the inhumanity of men against other men, but also women and kids. Now we know. We are more educated now. Humans, all humans, they share 99% of the DNA. I didn't know that. All humans, black, white, African Americans, Asian, African Indians, Alaskan nationals, Hawaiian nation, and other Pacific Islanders. Yes, all humans. 99% we are the same. And there are 5 major religions, 12 major religions in the world. And some of them are Abrahamic religions. And let's bring the speech to talk in the present. Why? The need of education is obvious. Yet there is a simple question: why we didn't already educate everything? Exhaust the subject. Talk about everything that needs to be talked about. And instead of looking of and talking about the horrors of the past, why we don't talk about the hope for tomorrow? And I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there are Abrahamic religions, yes, and there are Abrahamic accords that I saw on TV that they signed, and quite recently I saw it's not a glimmer of hope, it is a moment of normality. Meaningful steps in the right direction, but a moment of normality in this crazy world. When somebody can make some comments and it's a huge hype and you have to go home, think about it, feel guilty, come 2 weeks later, tell us what you learned. It was no need for that. But in a country where the most important podcast is about MMA, elk hunting, toxic masculinity, and anti-vaccine, this is what you pay for, this is what you listen for mostly. I'm not surprised that 23% of Americans believe that the Holocaust was, they were not sure. It is obvious to me, I wrote here, that what I saw on the American media is just hype. Instead of jumping on the comments on the person, on the show, on the view, on the whatever, you should focus your attention about the real problems. The real problem in America is not the way Woopy Goldberg felt black and used the word race. It was even a more interesting word, sex, used loosely. Interesting. It was sex, it wasn't sex, uh, to bring a little bit of fun. I don't want to insult anybody, but sex is more fun than other subject. So race, the real problem are not the comments of Whoopi Goldberg, but the people who took hostages in synagogues. They are the danger of the society, and people that are violent against different races or ethnicities like Jews, like Asian Americans, like black people. Like they are the problem in America, and not only in America for sure. You are talking there and tweeting and writing and talking about suspending for 2 weeks Whoopi Goldberg, or in the time when in America they are suspending your right to vote, your right to give some water to people that they are staying 4 hours in line, the right to walk freely at the street without fear of being shot, of being attacked because your eyes, because the color of your skin, the right because of your speeches. For example, the right to speak freely without, without, without spreading violence or hate or misinformation about COVID or other kind of misinformation that can actually cost American lives, deaths that can be preventable, yet you are paying 100 million, more than 100 million for something like that. That speaks loud and clear about the pyramid of values in America. And I'm not gonna be easy about that. The Abrahamic Accord, the glimpse of hope, the moment of normality. I have seen on TV a beautiful moment when the President of Israel shook the hand, stand up there in the most beautiful ceremony with the ruler of the Emirates. They went to visit the amazing exposition in Dubai. The Israel Pavilion was an open one. What a beautiful concept, a beautiful idea. The only one that was open, free flow of air, free flow of people, a good image of inclusion. of open doors, you are welcome, that type of thing. Beautiful idea, beautiful concept. And I heard on the news about the Abrahamic Accords. I knew that it is about, but I read more recently, and I have it here. The Abrahamic Accords are peace treaties, basically, between the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco. So, four countries. The first, public normalization. I like this, public normalization between of relationship, public normalization of relationship between the Arab states and the state of Israel. This is important since they signed a peace treaty with Jordan in 1994, 2022, 1994, do the math. It was signed in those Abraham Accords, the peace treaties with those four Arab countries on 13th of August 2020. Yes, the critics, I saw some critics there said that it's a PR stunt, more or less, because in the time of Donald Trump, because he wasn't very successful at making, bringing the Israeli and the Palestinians together and making them to kiss and hug. He wasn't successful in creating a two-state solutions. He wasn't successful with his real estate kind of plan. He was very successful of moving the embassy to Israel, to Jerusalem, and obviously to look the other way when the Israelis are doing what they are doing from time to time, new settlements and pushing people out of their own homes in the East Jerusalem. Other people will say that it's an economical based peace treaty because they are not actually in war and they have unpublic behind the doors relationship for many years between two developed countries, Israel and, for example, United Arab Emirates, that there are both countries that they know they are business savvy, they have visions, both of them, Israel have a vision undeniable, and United Arab Emirates, from a country with dunes and sand, now they are an amazing place and nation, and that is a natural kind of bridge and relationship between them because both they need tourists from one country to another. Let's make business, let's collaborate each other. There are so many levels of collaboration and fields of collaboration. Yes, between smart people, important people, intelligent people, friendly people. You don't have to fight each other. Arabs, Jews. I heard all of this. Yet for me, it's still a very beautiful moment, meaningful moment. Absolutely. In the same time, I cannot put under the rug another term, another situation when the Amnesty International mentioned an apartheid kind of treatment of the state of Israel towards the Palestinians. Apartheid. I heard this term before. What is apartheid? Well, apartheid was in Africa, right? In South Africa, in the time of Mandela, President Mandela, and de Klerk, and the end apartheid, and a lot of people sang beautifully on stages to free Mandela and end apartheid regime, including in Romania. They were calling, when I grew up, they were calling to end the apartheid regime in the South Africa. Oh, they were calling loud and clear. The definition of the word apartheid is a policy system of segregation and discrimination based on race. It is a word in Afrikaans, the language of, or one of the language of South Africa, and it is about the racial segregation policies which were imposed in the country by its racial segregated white majority against, no, white minority, of course, white minority against a majority of black people. That is apartheid, a policy of segregation and discrimination. So why Amnesty International calls the state of Israel, or some policies, not the entire state, some policies of Israel towards Palestinians of falling into the category of segregation, discrimination, and actually apartheid. I'm sure they looked in the legal definitions, but I wasn't that surprised because I heard the word before, and that word created even a more stir than Woopy Goldberg with race and inhumanity of humans against other humans. It was used by the President Jimmy Carter earlier, and I'm sure that Mr. President Jimmy Carter knew very well what he was talking about because I saw a documentary about it. I saw actually 2, 3 documentaries about that area. Of course, I don't live in Gaza, but you don't need to live in Gaza to understand the living condition there. As I said, for me, it's not a political speech or talk or a political matter. It's a human matter. It is the way some people live, the condition of living, and some people. For me, there are humans. 99% there are the same. 99% of the DNA. The Palestinians and the Israeli people, the Jewish people, 99% scientifically speaking, they are the same. We just talked about that. There are scientific evidences about that. Yet since I was a kid, I tell that story, I told the story. Since I was a kid, they were fighting each other. When in the living room my mom was watching TV or my father, as a kid, the door was open or I was sitting there waiting for some, I don't know, Tom and Jerry cartoons and things like that when I was a kid. The news were there and what a surprise. The Israeli people, the Jewish people are fighting the Arabs. And the Palestinians are putting bombs and killings, and there was a time when there are bombs all over Europe, and that's what I was seeing as a kid. I didn't pay attention. I wanted to see my cartoons, to go out, to do my homework, but I thought that as the time will pass by, some of those problems might be solved. I wanted to say alleviated. No, no, no. Mitigated. No. Solved. It was enough time since I was a kid. I'm 54 years old. I was 7, 8, 9, 10. 45 fucking years was enough to solve those kind of situation when you have 99% of your DNA the same. But apparently not. And I'm the crazy guy. That's why even that there are some Abraham Accords there, maybe Saudi Arabia will follow. Maybe it's a step, an example in the right direction of normalization. Of it was with Egypt, it was with Jordan, now with UAE and other Bahrain and other kind of. In the same time, there are voices that are saying that because of the settlements and because of the unmitigated support, unconditional support that the United States of America gave to the state of Israel, gives, not gave, gives. They move from a two-state solution to shifting the conversation to one-state solution because of the settlement. One here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. Oh, sorry. If we draw a line, where is your country? Because this is my settlement, this is my settlement. Ah, here is my settlement too. Oh, excuse me, here is my settlement. Yes, yes. Ah, this is mine too. Yeah. Cheers, my settlement too. And the rest is yours. But yeah, that's exactly how it is. If you look on the map, it's exactly how it is. To draw a line on the map and some lines, some borders, to some partition of land, you have to need to have that land. And I don't think you can draw a line on a leopard kind of skin anymore. So from two-state solution, they moved step by step, surely, but to a one-state solution with a minority group that we are talking about race, ethnicity, apartheid. I don't want to talk about holocaust anymore. Those kind of simple subjects, you know. Yes, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, I do. I do. Usually I do. So, once they solution with a minority, there that they should be more tolerant with that minority and everything works fine. Is it? I cannot, I said this before, I cannot understand how, in the name of God, that everybody is with God here, God there, my God, your God, how people that they suffer enough, that much, that we talked about the Holocaust, we talked about I read about the desire of Jewish people to have a state, their long struggle and fight. I have the book right here. That was a very educative kind of book. I enjoy it. I'm gonna read it again. I don't understand how these people cannot understand the desire of the other nation, the Palestinians, to have their own country, their own state, and try to solve the problem in a win-win meaningful kind of manner. I know it is way easy to talk about it than to actually implement it in the field because both sides, there are good people on both sides. That's my simple understanding. Now, like Woopy Goldberg, if you want to jump on me or whatever, my understanding is both sides there are good people and both sides there are bad people like extremists. And I'm basing this assessment on fact of history. When they sign a peace treaty, you killed the prime minister, and undeniable there are people that are throwing bombs and rockets from the other side, from the Palestinian side. And they are divided politically speaking, and they have a long history of hate and blood spilled between them. The Israeli are going there to mow the lawn. What kind of expression is that? What kind of inhuman and disrespectful kind of expression is that? When you go with your army and mow the lawn, I mean, you kill that one, you level the field a little bit. And the other guys, they have tunnels, they are smuggling weapons, and that's when do you have time to educate your kids not to hate other people? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't live there. But that's how I see it from here. If there are people that every day of their life, since they are young, they go in those kind of school when they learn only one kind of book, word by word, line by line, and then they learn hate America and death to America, death to Israel, death. How come you can make peace with these people and stop killing each other? I don't know. I don't have the answer. You should have the answer. You should think about it. You are living there. You know you are the elites. I'm the monkey. Remember, I have the banana right here. I'm the fucking monkey. The crazy guy. It's not for me to have the answer. It was for you to have the answer during the last 45 years or even 50 years and the solution to be already implemented and to live today in a better world with my family, my wife, my kids, my mother. Not that I'm complaining, I live in a peaceful country. But doesn't mean I don't have a TV. Doesn't mean I don't care. When I see kids that are dying because of cold in another country, I get angry. That's my nature. I'm Latino. I'm passionate. I don't know. I'm the son of my father. My father was the same. When she got angry, she was screaming, raising his voice. Instead of listening to other postcards of people discussing elk hunting, MMA, and being the most popular podcast in the United States of America and probably around the world, that's a shock to me. That's why I looked about the subjects. I mean, it's not TikTok, right? No, it's a discussion between intelligent people, meaningful people, moderators. That was my understanding. I'm talking about the famous Spotify moment. In my speeches there, Spotify the bridges is way more important than a lot of other bullshit that people are listening and paying for. Huge amount of money. Makes me angry to them. The discrepancy in the world, the disrespect in this world, the fucked up pyramid of values in this world makes me angry. Not jealous of other people's success. Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. Makes me angry. Because that kind of misinformation, I saw the trucks in COVID, caravan of trucks carrying bodies out of Italy and Spain. I saw refrigeration trucks where they are keeping the bodies of people that died of COVID. I saw construction machines that I'm construction engineer. I work in the building site. I'm so familiar digging graves because there are not enough people to dig graves with the pandemic. I saw those horrible kind of images in time of peace here in the civilized Europe and Europe that is developed and in the European Union, and I got shocked and scared. I thought, how was that possible? I got shocked and scared of that kind of virus that was a pandemic. I saw TED speeches in 2015 or something like that. I knew the word pandemic and I said, this is serious. This is the big one that they were talking before. Because I watched TED, I didn't hear about elk hunting and toxic cesspool of masculinity and martial arts, mixed martial arts. And how good is Donald Trump? I saw on TV Donald Trump. I said, huh, finally decided. Not a complicated side. Those kind of subjects, those kind of information, like even Glenn Beck today, I looked that my vaccine do not protect yourself. Yes, nobody said the vaccines will protect yourself 100%. They said that vaccines can save your lives because you're not going to be in the ICU unit with all those tubes if you are vaccinated. That's a different situation. Do not modify in the conversation as we do on a regular basis. I gave you a simple example. Masks do not protect you. If I am infected with a COVID, my dog sneezed over me when we were watching TV. My dog was near, sneezed over. I had to go and wash my face. If I've been infected with COVID and I'm sitting close to you and I'm speaking loud and passionate and maybe I spread some micro particles in the air that they stay there, or because I'm an idiot, or that's how I speak, I sneeze or spit all over you, ha, choo, and there is a chance you will get infected. But if I wear a mask, it's a physical barrier. So mask do work to protect you, you fucking idiot, from other people that are infected, possibly infected. Masks do work as a physical protection, first and foremost for you, that you are talking about this stupid kind of thing, self-evident. And then, if other people went in a closed space before me and they sneeze there and there are those kind of microparticles in the air that carry the virus, if I have a mask, a part of particle depends on the quality of the mask, the quality of the filter, will not go inside of my body. So masks do work. And so the most simple ways, I put tiles, I install tiles, I cut tiles day after day after day after day. When you cut tiles, sometimes you have the water, sometimes you don't. You cut with a grinder. There is dust. If you have a mask, less dust goes in your lungs. If you don't have a mask, all the dust that you breathe goes in your lungs. It's so fucking simple, you fucking idiots. But let's keep it light. I mean, better we talk about race, holocaust, and apartheid, because obviously those simple subjects with a mask and with a vaccine, not protecting yourself 100% against virus, but protecting yourself not to fucking die. Being, yes, being like a flu, kind, hapchu, I don't feel well, 2, 3 days, 4 days, and then you go. enjoy your life, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, go out, have a beer, or fucking die in a ICU unit, in a medical, in a hospital, and being a burden for all the doctors that there are really heroes. And for years and years, for years, yes, 2 years now, it's more than one, it's plural, 2 years, I said, well, they were staying there with all the protective gear. Why don't you do your podcast with the protective gear to see how nice it is? For years, almost 7 years, I installed tiles every day. So I have the mask. So it's not very complicated for me. And of course, I have the working uh, outfit with the pin set and the grout and the right. Why don't you do your podcast with all the gear to see how nice it is? That's how the doctors feel like. Being a burden for the hospitals, being a burden for the economy, being a burden, basically putting your country down. And then don't forget to blame a Romanian guy for all your shortcomings. And let's talk about some of them. Instead of having a hype about simple comments on the view, why don't you talk in America like man to man, like leaders of the world, like people that there are, how do you say, I know the Romanian expression, leaders of conscience, something like that, people that they have influence in the society. And why don't you talk about the real subjects? What are the real subjects, Leo? I mean, how dare you to... it's my opinion, triple A, you know? I'm the fucking monkey. The clown. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Remember? Hum, hum, hum. Apparently I was very famous on the internet. Okay. Question number 1. Is indeed the United States of America a free nation? Free and independent nation? Wow. What do you mean? How dare you? Whoa, 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 whoa. Is indeed the United States of America a free and independent nation? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, Leo. Doesn't work like that, okay? I have enough of this bullshit. Is or isn't? What do you mean? Well, I mean, I saw this gentleman on TV. I was watching the American politics from time to time, not as a person that has nothing to do in his life to do other thing, not a frustrated person. Now, at that moment, I was working. I was married. I was planning to buy another house. I have plans in my life. I had no desire to keep podcast or to be an influencer or be on Facebook with I don't know how many likes and this like that. But at a certain point in history, I saw the American president, this gentleman, voting at the United Nations. We just talked about the United Nations, the way he feels like, you know, about some important Israel kind of issues. And they didn't like that. The guys in Israel, they didn't like that. Even that in an interview with Charlie Rose asked him, asked Bibi Netanyahu if President Obama did help Israel, and Bibi Netanyahu has to acknowledge the evidence that no other president helped Israel as President Barack Obama. Yet apparently Barack Obama was not good enough at a certain point because he dared to vote to instruct his administration, his representative at the United Nations to vote differently than Bibi Netanyahu wanted in Israel. And it was a backlash. That's how you say it, back, splash back. No, I was doing toss on the back splashes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I looked and I have a what the fuck is going on there? You know, it was strange to me. And then I saw that moment when Bibi Netanyahu came in the America and basically humiliated the American president in his own house. Nice. I mean, I'm the construction worker. I speak straightforward. I saw him fuming, fumes coming out, but metaphorically speaking. I read the book. There are moments when, woo! Yeah, and then that was the most important moment for me when I saw Mr. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu giving a speech in the Congress of the United States of America. And it was like, wow. In the moment when Bibi entered the room, it was like deja vu. Ceausescu was a little kid comparing with Bibi, the leader. Every member of the American Congress jumped. I mean, no, didn't, no, jumped. I mean, vroom, like a spring, on the, and start applauding like somebody press a fucking button in the back like Robert. Boom. They look left and right to see if they jump fast enough, if they are a little bit later than the other one. That's not good, not good. Maybe the camera, maybe you have to jump fast to show your enthusiasm. And I grew up like that. Exactly. I mean, exactly. I grew up like that, 100%. On TV, when Ceausescu was keeping his speeches in the Congress of Romania, well, it's the National Assembly or something like that. When he was entering there, people were jumping on the applauding, and it was rhythmical. I mean, you cannot applaud like an idiot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. Law and order, law and order. Ceausescu PCR, Ceausescu PCR, Ceausescu și partidul, Ceausescu și partidul, Ceausescu și popor. And then somebody tells them to stop, Ceausescu and the party, Ceausescu and the people, Ceausescu the great leader, the genius of Carpathian. That's how they call it in the cult of personality. And now Bibi entered the room. Elvis had left the building, but Bibi entered the building. And it was the same, more or less the same. The enthusiasm was real. I played some Give Peace a Chance from a festival in Romania, 1983. 40,000 people singing, buying the ticket, going there, staying in line day and night in the rain or something like that to get a ticket. I went there only twice because I didn't have the money for ticket and it was on the radio. And singing and chanting for Romania and singing Give Peace a Chance. None of them were paid, none of them were, it was all honest there. I have great doubts. It's my opinion, a triple fucking gay kind of opinion that all of those people, they were as enthusiastic as they showed to be. But I talked about that when there are some lobbies there in America, and when every politician owns those kind of people, I don't think they are very independent when they buy you, they sell you, they own you, when every American president has to, like, to swear allegiance to the interest of Israel, because other without this kind of, they are not going to be presidents. Simple like that. It is obvious that the interest of Israel and the United States of America are one, always. And I like the state of Israel very much. I like America as our main partner, yet 100% of 100% of 100% year after year, hour after hour, day after day, the interests are always, always 100%. That's a simple question of, the monkey. Actually, let's have a fun. And I didn't. It's a good banana. You should have some. If I have some bananas, I'm going to throw some bananas there. In the, we call them applaudaci. Yeah, yeah. In my opinion, it's also a little bit of comedy and pamphlet. Yeah, sure. 100% of 100% of every minute, every day. I mean, when this guy was, I think it's a little different. It was a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Washington, we have a problem. Don't worry. George W. Bush, tell it to the world. When you have a problem, blame somebody else. Maybe a sure Romanian guy, I don't know. Somebody else. He didn't mention who, but that's the way to solve the problems in America. So, is indeed America a free nation? In a video that I saw it on YouTube, to my surprise, Mr. Netanyahu didn't know that the camera was rolling and said something casual. America is easy to move. I mean, like, I can move my cup. Let's have some coffee. I have coffee here. It's easy to move. Like a fucking banana. Okay. I'm worried because America is our partner. And I want a strong America and a powerful America, independent America, democratic America, peaceful America, prosperous America, strong. I'm not kidding. I'm not ironic. I would like to see a very strong America with good values. Dream on, yo. Dream on. Dream on. Okay. So, is America a truly democratic nation? We talked about independence, right? Is it democratic? What do you mean, Leo? What do you mean, Leo? Now you wake up, you have your coffee, and you are criticizing America in such a bad moment when I promise it's gonna be a light kind of speech, only race, holocaust, apartheid, and the pyramid of values of the United States of America. I forgot to mention. Okay. What do you mean about democratic? Well, I mean exactly the word democratic, I looked up the definition of race. We learn about race, the definition, we learn about religions, we learn about ethnicity, we learn about the very important thing that 99% of all human beings, they have same DNA. And the definition of democracy, I don't have to look at that. I will learn at the school demos kratos, 2 words, exactly like holocaust, 2 words. From Greece, put together demos kratos, power of the people. I have one example, it's simple, I'm not gonna... Was it the invasion of Iraq, when it was such a important moment in American foreign policy, so important that apparently fucked up the well-maintained and well-conducted operation in Afghanistan. where the terrorists were, the invasion of Iraq based on a lie weapon of mass destruction, and all the bullshit, were decided by we, the people, for the people, by the people, with the people. From the books and documentaries and what I saw on TV, it was decided by a cabal of neoconservative gang of brothers there, or how do you say, organization. And some will say that even more or less 50 Israeli nuts kind. That's the expression that they use there, Israeli nuts. This means there are fan of the state of Israel. They are pro-Israeli kind of operatives in the highest level of the American foreign policy deciders. When I say operatives, I mean they are working there. I'm not implying anything else. It is my English. So the question from previous question number one, is America independent, comes to light now, because where is the interest of United States and the interest of, the, I don't know. I'm just asking some simple kind of question. I'm not saying it's good and bad. Probably for many decades and many years it was a meaningful kind of alliance. I'm not trying to break it. I'm not criticizing. I'm asking some questions. I even didn't raise my voice. There are valid kind of questions. Matters of good debates, better than what you have there, elk hunting, toxic kind of masculinity and misinformation about coronavirus. These are more meaningful questions. First and foremost for your country, and then for everybody around the world. Because I'm going to the fact. Actually, let's stay here before I play the Glenn Beck think timetable with involvement and both Democrats under and Republicans in Ukraine. I played not as a favor to Daragie Druzia Putin, as probably some people heard me screaming loud and clear before. I played to prove my point, not that I need some approval or I know I'm right. My point was easy to understand and logical and doesn't need to be proven anymore. The real life events prove me that I'm right, but I don't have any satisfaction telling you I told you so. The, the fucked up politics, everything that Glenn Beck played there on Fox News with the presentation was very good. Long, many names, many but very good. I have to, that's why I used to, I like the presentation. Bibi Netanyahu gave a good presentation at United Nations. I thought it was good. I said, I think it is good. Okay. Glenn Beck made a good, I don't like the guy. I don't like the, at all. But he made a good presentation. Well, the point was that Metaphor was set up and blah blah. I'm not interested in that. But I'm interested in the conclusion of everything that I saw there was exactly what I was saying. Your fucked up, broken kind of society and internal politics are affecting the foreign policy of the United States of America, the fight between Democrats and Republicans, and the fact that you cannot come together for even for national interest of the United States of America, like building some bridges, like educating some kids, like building back better, for example, which would be for all Americans to drive across those bridges. It's not a, if you make back, if you build back better the bridge in Pittsburgh, it's not going to be a Biden bridge or a Democrat kind of bridge. It's going to be a a bridge for all the people that are driving there. Uh, Biden supporters, Trump supporters, left, right, red, blue, any kind of race, any kind of ethnicity. You need a fucking bridge. It's simple like that. So Spotify the Bridges is a meaningful kind of title. Anyway, you cannot come together not even for internal kind of politics, national interest of the people of United States of America. How about the other very real and complicated situation around the world that being the greatest powers of the world for so many years, we are responsible for. Member in the Security Council of UN, a nuclear power, a nation with weight and meaning around the world, and status. The simple example is the retreat in Afghanistan. All that Lembeck showed there in the time of Obama and then Trump and this and that showed loud and clear how complicated, involved you are, how fucked up you are actually in your internal politics when you have time to think and devise. From 2014, when Mr. President theoretically handed the operation to the Afghan army, to the moment of a second Saigon that I saw there on TV. And then in 17 days, you show the greatness of America when you put your back into it, when you saving probably in a greatest logistical operation of our modern times, an aerial bridge of 120,000 people that night. You carry them out in the same time, how many were left behind? The simple truth is that the war didn't erupt in the last 17 days when you make that kind of amazing effort, but since 2014 you have enough time to devise a better strategy, not to have the disaster that you left behind there. And millions of people are affected. Millions of people that put their hopes in you for a better future, and during those 20 years that you're there, yes, you're able to give hope and meaning in their life of women and girls and a lot of good things. Yeah, such a disaster. Why? Because of your fucked up internal kind of politics. Very fucked up. Because a huge chunk of America is listening to elk hunting and fucking bullshit like that. 23% of America, they don't know. I don't know the percentage of people, and this is how, with elk hunting and Joe fucking Rogan, you end up to have, maybe, Mr. Joe Rogan will acknowledge the fact that you are the highest #1 country in the world for no good reason, for the worst reason. The higher number of people that died of COVID in recent times. Your sanity do not count. Third question. Is America truly a land of opportunity, an equal opportunity for everybody? It's a meaningful question. Let's talk about that. That's how I grew up. That's who I am. That's how I grew up. Thinking that America is the land of opportunity. Yes, 100 million is a nice chunk of dough. 11 years, an important kind of personality. I don't live in America, yet now in the era of the internet and podcasts and things like that, we are citizens of the world. I don't need to live in America. When I was in Canada, I was hearing with my son. At that moment, I wasn't the terrible father that I am today. Probably we worked together with my son, and we were so happy driving and bringing construction materials from Home Depot. It was across the street, and renovating our small house in Canada in Calgary, Marlborough area. And by the time we're listening at the radio, a rock show of a guy that apparently was somewhere in Arizona or something like that in a desert he was talking about. That was strange to me, but it was fun to listen, you know. And we kind of enjoyed that kind of show. And I realized you don't have to be in Calgary to be able to. So some people they are rewarded with $100 million. Other people have zip codes in America where they knew that they are going to jail before they are 25, and they kind of accept that, which is very, 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 very bad. This is from PBS. So obviously, it's not a land of equal opportunity at all. I said if you are part of an occult organization, Masonic or other kind of things, if you are part of a gang, if you are part of a tribe in a loose kind of situation. Now I read a book, I have it somewhere, about tribes. It is strange to me to talk about tribes in 2022. I know very well that in a tribal society there is no equal opportunity. America looks more or less as a savage kind of society where everybody has his own tribe. And if you are an independent voice, everybody will hate you and put you down. And on the contrary, we need more independent voices like that. You fucked up your media, it's so divided. You fucked up your society, it's so divided. Your politics are so divided. Even your businesses are so divided. Either you are green, either you are with the oil. If you have a problem, blame somebody else. So, question number 4, is your justice system working for all? You know, and justice for all. I have a simple example that if you are a teenage that probably you live in one of those zip codes, disadvantages, you see no way out, you don't have opportunity, you don't have a mother that is a teacher or a father that doesn't beat your mother and is not an alcoholic and is not a drug addicted or things like that, as I saw that seems to be the norm when you watch TV or American movies or American shows. It's strange. It's strange. It's disturbing. All of those stories, they come back and come back, and I'm sure there are good people, nice families in America as I met so many in Canada. I don't see much difference between the Canadian families and the American families. Yet, this is what you show to the world consistently. So if you're a teenage like that and you sell some drugs, I'm not advocating in any way doing that. But I saw on PBS a situation when an older gentleman left, was after 40 years in prison for being a teenager and he saw some drugs. I asked myself what was the quantity, what was 40 years in prison. It's a very, very long time. It's a lifetime. And at the same time, I saw the other case of the deal of the century. Study Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. I read the book, I bought the book. It is the deal of the century in the justice system when Jeffrey Epstein, the famous sex offender trafficker, after he was supposed to stay 150, more than 100 years, they had enough evidences. The prosecutors at the beginning, they have enough evidences on him, and then the policemen, the law enforcement were attacked. Personally, their families were under attack, their Facebook accounts were under attack, kind of military grade institution came against them. That's justice in America. And then, funny thing, Mr. Epstein got a penalty of 18 months in prison that he executed 13, minimum security, private chauffeur, open door. He was going with a private chauffeur every day to his office to work at his foundation that was incredibly meaningful to the entire human race. 13 months. With Dershowitz, I don't blame Acosta as he was young at that moment and probably the hammer come from very high up. If you look at the ledger and who was fucked up there, you realize that the young prosecutor, as strong as dedicated as he is, cannot stand alone against this kind of pressure from the highest up, from left and right. A sure Romanian guy cannot stand alone against everybody else. Anyway, the deal of the century, 13 months instead of 100 fucking years in prison. And then 15 years, basically it was a license to rape and pervert some young girls from trailer parks, and the guy was a millionaire, part of the elite. So after 15 years of doing the same, finally they got him and he died in prison in a maximum security station. That is bullshit. That's justice in America. That's conspiracy in America. There is no theory of conspiracy here. These are real facts. With the invasion of Iraq, there are real facts. With the conspiracy that everybody was there, these are real facts. If Mr. Epstein was working for a secret service or from a nefarious organization, mafia kind of thing, and his job was to pervert and corrupt everybody else there to have some blackmailing material of who is who in American politics, finances, justice system, and it is a possibility. I talked about that. It is a possibility. It is a possibility. What was that secret service or nefarious organization? It's your job to find. But there is a possibility. As I talked about a case, the same kind, corrupting politician. I mean, uh, filming politician while they have sex with prostitutes and prostitutes, sex workers with girls in Romania. It was instrumented, the same kind of operation was instrumented in Romania. Cameras all over the place like they have in the villa of Epstein, in the houses on the island. And then if you have a movie with an important personality having sex, it's embarrassing. I know from first hand because they took my videos from all over the internet that they were internet, not internet, my laptop, my telephone, that were supposed to see them when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. And they were for private, absolutely private use. But that's what they did to their presidents, and there is a possibility that other countries do have that kind of movies with former presidents of the United States of America. There is a possibility. Why I'm saying it's a logical deduction, as in the time of Ceausescu, they said in Romania that in the hotels they installed microphones in the wall in the hotel in the middle of Romania, and there was an entire technical floor with equipment to record this equipment. So this, what I'm talking about, is not a crazy thing, theory of conspiration, maga, crava, I don't know, kind of things. There are very logical, down to earth kind of logical deduction. It is a possibility. It is my opinion. I don't know the truth if it is true or not, but there are meaningful kind of questions. If America is really independent, if America is democratic, because nobody asked the American people if they really want to invade Iraq. A bunch of small number of people did the took the decision, and there are all from a certain kind of organization with a neocons and certain kind of inclination pro-Israeli. We talked about the justice system, and the fifth is what maybe I will be in the situation to take the fifth. Uh, it's what President Obama talked about the best. You know what? I heard this so many times, to reach against the eye, to work with the other part. We are all Americans. The President Obama said it beautifully. We are not the Republican state of America or the red kind of America or the blue kind of America. We are the United States of America. I wish to be true. From the bottom of my heart, I wish to be true. Yet it's not. So I didn't insist it on the subject. It's a painful subject to see. And it's even more painful because in Romanian society it's exactly more or less. We took your example of division and they fight each other and nothing gets done. I hate that, I don't like that. Yet we follow the example of the great leader and it's wrong. It's wrong in America, it is wrong in Romania. So a better union, question mark, and I do not know. Actually, the simple answer, and from the bottom of my heart, it's your shit. It's your fucking shit. Deal with it. But do not spell it into my life anymore. Because I have responsibility of my words, your shit, there, the division, during your, in a strange coincidence, I know it's just a coincidence, but when Trump was fighting for election with Hillary Clinton, funny thing, exactly in the same days, I was sitting in my bedroom watching TV in Romania, and I realized I have a movie on TV that the main character there was Monica. Of course, it's a coincidence. There are so many Monicas in the world. But in the same day, since 8 o'clock, my mom was very agitated that my cousin Monica will come to sign a contract of renting her apartment because she's a doctor, she works in ICU. So I know what I'm talking about, trying to save lives. every day. And since 6 o'clock, Monica was supposed to come. Monica was supposed to come. Monica, oh my God, I said, okay, she's coming. Why she's coming? To sign the contract, not to sign, to fill out the form with the form, to give her a form to, okay, excellent, not a big deal. But my mom was so agitated that she was keep repeating the name. At a certain point, I was like, okay, I got it. Okay, excellent. Who cares? And then she came, and in the living room, they were filling the application for renting an apartment. Not a big deal. But it was Monica in the living room. And in the bedroom, I was sitting there, stressed out, watching a movie with Monica in a living room. So I have Monica in the bedroom. I have on TV. You can hear the soundtrack of the right in the room. It's somebody, I don't know, the friends of Epstein, I don't know who, the green soldiers, I don't know who, definitely not me, would put some microphones in my walls, all you can hear, and put it on the internet. Funny thing, it's a reality show, I'm just saying. Exactly in the time of American election, as the Hollywood put all kind of movies with female leaders in the leading role, in the same time of election, somebody else will make another kind of show, reality show, with the life of an idiot, a short Romanian guy with a cousin Monica, and oh, is it about Monica? Clinton Monica. Very funny, very funny. I don't believe in coincidences. That's one example of so many. That's what I'm talking about. Your shit, your shit, your disgusting shit. You spell it all over the place in Ukraine. You spell it in my family, in my life, using my family in my life. Second time, when it was again another election years later, it was another scenario playing about a piece of land that my father, the company where I and my father we worked, apparently it was an offer to buy a small piece of land, I don't know, 6,000 square meters, by an Italian company that was across the fence. And exactly in the time of election. And it was a famous connection between Trump and the Italians. And it was Biden and his friends here that they built a mall and other things. And Biden was very well connected with those guys. He sent Hunter Biden here for legal advice when they need it, anti-corruption things. So we have Trump and we have Biden. I have an offer from an Italian company there. It wasn't real. It was all hype and bullshit. And my mom was agitated. Oh, maybe we sell that one. It was, I don't know, 10,000 euros, 20,000 euros, our share. After I make a calculation, 62 years. My father 50 something, I worked 50 years, she worked more. He worked more. I worked 12 years there. We had some shares both in the company that we worked, and it was about 20,000 euros or something like that. In the end, all the effort was a fucking setup, wasn't real. It was just to put the situation in my living room to see if I'm gonna go with that and to make the fucking show. Again, the shit from American election. No, I don't have the proof. It is my opinion. Triple fucking gay and triple fucking gay and triple fucking gay and triple fuck you. It was Monica in the first election with Clinton, Hillary, and it was real estate in the second election between Trump and Biden. How many coincidences do you think there are just coincidences? The reality is that I spend time and effort to try to educate you, your country, at great personal risk. Maybe I have to accept the reality that maybe your ungrateful nation, ungrateful kind of country is beyond repair. I have to accept the reality that my childhood, my young teenage years of a beautiful America is absolutely shattered in the face of reality of today. Number six problem that you should talk about your standing on the stage of the world, your standing of the nation. As I talked in a previous speech, if you would come to my country with your company Bechtel number one, you would have built, according to 415 kilometers, 173 bridges, and then on 4th of July, with the beautiful American style, putting the star and stripes ribbon all over 415 kilometers, all over the bridges, having the American ambassador, even the President of the United States of America there, driving in a car, open car, waving the, how do you call the fireworks, all over, the anthem of the United States of America playing. That's how you make a show, you fucking disgusting, retarded idiots that you are. Instead of doing this, you came and for 52 kilometers you charge us 1.4 billion euros from the budget of Romania, budget that was made of hard working people of Romania, families of Romania, that they were stupid enough to pay their taxes, not smart enough like your fucking president to pay zero taxes, not smart enough that, like the corporation, to minimize the taxes, paying 1 fucking% or something like that. Leo the Tyler used to pay in Canada more taxes than that, up to the moment when bad guys surrounded my house in Canada and prevented me to finish filing my tax. Literally. So the standing on the world stage, it is important. It is a good moment. It is an important stage, staying with Ukraine and unifying the other nation. But this is not the type of standing tall of America that I was looking for. I was looking for the good kind of America that we can build infrastructure in. Not for a military standoff. It's not only America to be blamed for that, no. The Daragie Druzia have his big share of, but as I said, I'm hopeful that there is huge room for negotiation on the table. There is, there is, there is. As I said it before, I'm going to repeat it because it's meaningful. There is obvious big place for compromise there, room for compromise. It is undeniable. They were able to find a solution and not blow the entire world up in the Cuban Missile Crisis, actually Turkey, Italian and Cuban Missile Crisis. They have better options today, way better. If they were able to do it then, they should be able to do it now. There is no excuse for it. There is no excuse for any other outcome. Absolutely no excuse. They can meet, they can sit on the same table, they can talk on Zoom, they can make phone calls, they can send their envoys to sit on the table 12 hours a day, work the fucking deal. They can do a lot of things that when Kennedy and Khrushchev were there with the blockade, with the submarines and this and that, they didn't. They didn't have that kind of option. So these are just a few questions that you should discuss in your podcast, in your shows on American TV with 60 Minutes, with America Situation Room or all other things. Mm. Yet America is listening to podcasts apparently. Cannot stop America to listen to podcasts of elk hunting and other kind of things. It's their option. Everybody has his own audience, but at a certain point you should discuss meaningful kind of things. I will hear a very personal ending. You know how you can improve your standing in the world as a nation? Hypnotizing from the camera a sure Romanian guy that was breaking his back and working in Canada, as it did happen. I don't know if it was the Americans. I don't know who it was. Maybe the Green Soldiers, maybe the Americans, maybe the mobsters, maybe the Masons, maybe I don't know who. This is not theory of conspiracy. I don't know who did it, but I knew I was hypnotized, transformed in a monkey who smelled his butt, and apparently that was viral all over the internet when you talk about the real situation of the world, peace between those kind of things, race, holocaust, apartheid. It's not that fun. It's not that important anymore. Okay, elk hunting. Okay. So, if you hypnotize a sure Romanian guy, I'm sure you're gonna be America on the hill, American values, elites of the world, as you are already. Ridiculizing him, making him to look like a fool, a clown, a crazy person, who knows, maybe schizophrenic, or pervert, or who knows, even zoophile, because he sleeps with his dog. There are people here that torturing him in the park, making him day and night to go out and run like the Masonic system that of course you don't know. You all touch your fucking guy, you all touch your nose, your presidents are doing things like that. The other one, yeah, vote me, vote me. Yes, of course, of course. It's just a coincidence. Maybe I'm imagining. Maybe it's just my crazy imagination that I was tortured. I ran 150 laps there. 15 teenagers waited for me in an ambush, broke my jaw. Maybe I imagine. Irradiating me through Havana system kind of situation. There are all over the walls. It is what it is. It's not in Havana, it's in Bucharest. It's right here. Yesterday it was that part of the head being irradiated while I speak. When they opened that one, started at full intensity, I fall down from the chair literally and physically. It was an attack, a pulse attack that literally I couldn't. It was kinetic kind of energy, not only waves and pulse. When I sit in my bedroom, I have the left part. They can irradiate my legs, only my left leg. When I stand up from here, I can hardly walk. That's how you stand up in the world. Pretend you don't know about all of this. Yet, funny thing, at the CNN you said that you have to be aware of books that have a lot of course it's a coincidence. Another coincidence, books that are full of movies, as I talked here, pop kind of culture. Yes, there are a lot of books with a lot of pop culture that you might take them out of the shelf. You might give another 50 years of curse. That's how it opens, you know. Yeah, metaphorically. It is just my imagination that just yesterday I watched Stephen Colbert and Woopy Goldberg. It is right there on the internet. Everybody can see it. And in the first second, Stephen Colbert, you know, yeah, he's not presidential. He's just a. And then funny thing, he was playing with his wedding ring as my marriage is broken and I have to file the divorce paper. But apparently it's a great show. When you break somebody's soul, somebody's spirit, somebody's marriage for the satanist of the planet is a great show. It's a moment of joy. Not long time ago, I read when they burn the synagogues, they make the Jews watch and dance about it. What kind? Where is our common humanity? They killed somebody in Charlottesville and they laughed and about it. Where is the soul of your nation? Can you prove all of this, Leo? No, no, I cannot prove. I have to break the wall. I don't know if it is a device that is just attached as they use the drilling machines here and everywhere in the apartment. And probably the one underneath my bed that I have the heat. I have the microwave kind of heat that heat my balls. Mother, do you think they'll try to break my balls? No, they are heating my balls like in a sterilization. Saturday, around lunchtime, I was sitting in my watching TV. I have my balls being heated, the middle part of my body, and then I walk my dog with a friend, a dentist, and what a coincidence, you know. One piece here, one piece there, one piece there. Everything is metaphorical. Saturday evening, 6, 7 o'clock at night, 5, 6. We're walking in the park and her boss out of nowhere text her if she needs some sterilizing equipment for her lab, for the tooth, of course. But when my boss were, of course, it's just a coincidence. You have to put two and two together, but no, I cannot prove it. It was what it is. When I walked my dog a few days ago, a fire truck cut my way out. It's a public street, right? And when I came back with the dog, I opened the TV and I saw that what a coincidence. 1,000 houses were in flames in Colorado. The day before, when I walked outside, it was a taxi, a cab. There are many cabs here. It's not. It's a public street. But exactly when I was walking my dog, the cab appeared, and then I came with the dog, the same thing, the same pattern. Another coincidence, I saw that a cab exploded in front of a hospital somewhere in Great Britain in the same day when I came. So I walk my dog, a cab is cutting me off, and then on the news, what a coincidence. I walk my dog, a fire truck is cutting me, and then houses are burning in Colorado. What a coincidence. One coincidence is after one coincidence after one coincidence after one coincidence. I don't appreciate your Masonic satanic game. The big game that you play with Afghanistan every single 50 or 100 years. I don't appreciate it. I cannot prove it, but what kind? What kind of nation would prevalent, if it is a word in English, will cover their asses behind something so petty that, oh, you know that is true, it happened to you for years now, but you cannot prove it. What kind of nation is that? The question of Leo the Tyler, Liviu Dudo, the engineer from Romania, the fucking monkey, is where is your dignity, United States of America? Do you need a banana? The country with human rights, the country with freedom, the country with democracy, especially human rights. Where are my human rights? For 8 years I've been tortured, psychologically, physically, emotionally. Nobody knows. Where are your values that you are keep bragging all around the world? In a famous song, the monkey climbed on a pile of stone. Roger Waters. And then the monkey was confused. However, from when I'm standing, there is no monkey here. It was never a monkey. And by the way, I watched some documentaries. Monkeys are intelligent and very noble kind of animals, better than a lot of humans. There is no J6 attack of the monkeys in the monkey world. From where I'm standing, America is sitting on a pile of shit. Unfortunately, that's the way I see it. And no, it is not insulting to America as you might feel, because I took the expression from your usual expression in the talk shows, comedian show. Last night I saw a show of Trevor Noah that I admire in many respects. He's talented, intelligent, and he was talking a lot of shit there. So keep your shit together, don't get too insulted, because it is a slice of your own pie. It is a taste of your own medicine. It is exactly what you put on my screen when every time when I open the TV and I'm trying to watch an American movie. It is shit, shit, and more shit. So be so kind, keep your shit together, and think, think, think about what I'm saying. Think about the truth I'm speaking. So the question is obvious. What is wrong with you people? Are you all confused like the monkey in the song? I remember. In the end, I'm gonna tell you a simple thing. I remember a video from the news when an older Afghan woman from a village that she was beaten and They felt that family felt the war between the Russians, then the civil war with the Afghans and other warlords, and then the Americans and other warlords that they were paid, and the drug lords, so they felt the war from all sides. She said something terribly disturbing for our common humanity, not only for me or for you, for our common humanity that we keep talking about. She said something, there are no good men left in the face, on the face of this earth. It was on TV. It was a reportage from Afghanistan, probably on CNN or something like that. There were no good men left of the face of this world. The depth of despair of that woman should be something that all of you should think about. And one more thing. Yes, Holocaust was about race, and it was absolutely true what she said, that it was exactly what I'm talking about the inhumanity of humans against other humans. This is also true. Enjoy your day.